Once again, I'm going to share with you some personal stories from my past. And these stories always include some of the great failings that I've had as a human being. And I just want you to know that I share my stories for a variety of reasons. Maybe as you're listening to them, you have had similar experiences and could learn something from mine. And as I also, if I talk about myself, no one can accuse me of you talked about me in a sermon. But if I'm talking about myself, you can't do that, right? But probably the biggest reason is I use my own stories is that the lessons I have learned in life, the lessons that have formed me, the lessons that inform how I read things, have all come through personal experience. The scripture that speaks deepest to my soul are the words that give meaning to these personal experiences, and so it is today. If I were to have read, or if we would have read and listened to the New Revised Standard translation of this passage, it would say in the beginning, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable act of worship. If I were to take the time to study these words, I think I would understand them better, and I could help you understand them better. But the Message translation takes these kind of lofty words and puts them into terms I think we can all understand without much interpretation. Take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, your eating, your going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing that you can do for God. I want you to hold that thought for a moment. In the spring of my junior year of high school, I won an award for the best supporting actor in a comedy drama for my portrayal of Speed in the play The Odd Couple. It was a command performance. At the time, it really was a significant high school accomplishment. The Lake County Rotary Clubs got together and hosted a Tony-like award ceremony for about 30 area high schools. So getting nominated was a big deal, and winning was even more special. And I think that year, I was the only person that won from our school. Now, this is what I do. I turned that experience into the most annoying joke the Advent staff has ever heard in their entire life. It started with Ariel Johnson. Ariel Johnson, who used to work with the children here, has a lot of experience in theater, and not only in putting on plays, but acting in plays, directing plays, has all this experience. And so when she was putting together drama camp, I went up to her and I suggested that I be a guest speaker for drama camp. And she was trying to be really super nice and look at me in a nice way, and she's like, thank you, but why would we do this? And I told her, I said, well, I won an award for my portrayal of Speed in the play Odd Couple. Now, I'm not saying I won an Oscar, but there was a buzz. Now, the thing that makes this joke even more magical is you can't just say it one time. Over and over and over again. I say this all the time. Whenever we're talking about filming anything, whenever we talk about acting anything, whenever we talk about anything to do with drama, I will say, I once won an award for my portrayal of Speed in the play drama. Now, plays Odd Couple. Now, I'm not saying that I won an Oscar, but there was a buzz. There was a buzz. Now, every line in that is intended to play on the notion that I don't know anything, because basically, Oscars aren't given for plays. There are Tonys that are given for plays. And it plays on this, but it is the frequency that makes it so enjoyable for me and so annoying for everyone else. And I'm certain if you went up to Lindsay after worship today and said, I heard there was a buzz about Pastor Eric's performance in The Odd Couple, she will scream and pull out her hair. Now, there's a more nuanced story behind the joke that I tell. I kind of got into plays by accident in high school. My brother, one year, decided to go out for a play. And he went out for the play, and I kind of had to wait around for him till the play practice was over. And the director needed another live body and asked if I would join. And so I said, okay, I'll join. And so one play led to another until that award came. And after I won the award, the teacher advisor who was in charge of these things decided to pick plays that would feature me and my amazing talent for the future plays to come my senior year of high school. So all the plays my senior year were going to be featuring me. The teacher who directed the plays also was the advisor of the school newspaper and the yearbook. In my junior year, my brother was the editor of the yearbook and editor of the newspaper, and I helped him out taking pictures and getting ads and doing different things. So again, based on my brother's work with that and my amazing award-winning performance in the school play, the teacher named me editor of the newspaper and the yearbook for my senior year. Halfway through my senior year, I got a call, and the teacher, the advisor, asked me to see me in his office. I went down to speak with him after school, and in the meeting, he fired me. He fired me as editor of the yearbook, of the newspaper. He even fired me from being the lead in the play. And without any real explanation of why he was doing it. So I went home and told my parents, and they wanted to know what I did wrong. I told them, I don't really know. And so they set up a meeting with the teacher to figure out what I did wrong. And when I got home, I asked them what they learned. And they just looked at me and said, the only thing we could figure out is that you're not your brother. I was fired for not being something I was not and could not be. My whole senior experience is like, you talk about these great senior movies or these movies about great senior years and all these things. My senior year was like the most complete failure anybody had ever experienced. Someone, anointed me a star without ever asking me if I wanted it or if I was capable of doing it. They never considered whether it was my passion or not. But it taught me a lesson about talent, one that has proven to be true regardless of age or ability on any scale. People assess talent by comparing one person against another. And this often leads to pitting one person against another to not only determine whether you have talent, but whether you have worth. My brother and I are complete opposites in every possible way. We both have our talents, talents that are not necessarily comparable, and there is a reason my brother is an engineer and I am a pastor. It is where our talent and our passion reside. The thing I felt bad about when I won that award was the person in our group, in our core of actors, the person who was really talented and who really had passion was a kid by the name of Dwayne Knock. He played Felix in The Odd Couple, and he carried that play. And he was the one with all the talent. He was the one with the passion for acting. But no one decided to select a play based on highlighting his talent, nor did the Rotary name him Best Actor. Last month, Dwayne Knock posted on Facebook that he was touring Italy, starring in a play called Colloquia, a conversation between enemies. He's had a very full life as a writer, a director, and an actor, and I couldn't be more happy for him. Dwayne speaks to another life lesson about talent. Your talent is ultimately the thing that brings you joy, whether you win an award for it or not, whether you're the best at it or not. Paul's letter to the Romans is one of the most important books in the entire Bible for Christian believers. It presents the core theology of this Christian movement as it moves and grows from Judaism into Christianity, All people fall short of the glory of God, but all people, whether it be Jew or Gentile, are saved by God's free, undeserved grace and mercy. The reading invites us to consider ourselves as the talent, and God as the judge or assessor of talent as opposed to the world. When the world judges who is talented and gifted, they do so by comparing one person to another and determine who has more value. They will give an award to one and then ultimately reject the other. But in this relationship with God, we are invited to shape our view of the world and ourselves through God's eyes, through God's perspective. Living in God's grace, that is, we receive love and mercy without earning it. Do not see yourselves as one who is working to gain God's favor or approval. God has already poured out goodness on us. We are good. We are talented. We are loved. God does not give us these gifts for how we are, but for who we are. We are the Lord's. We are children of God's creation. The healthiest way to live is to embrace it is God who gives us the goodness and not us who bring goodness to God. Do not define your life and your value by what you give to God, but what God has first given you, yourselves, your time, your possessions. And we do this act of practicing, we do this by practicing the art of gratitude. We practice the art of gratitude by placing our everyday, ordinary life, our sleeping, our waking, our eating, our going to work life before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for us is the best thing we can do. When you wake up in the morning, give thanks to God that you have been given a new day to live and breathe. You're given a new opportunity to share your talent with the world. If you're worried about not having talent, Paul is writing to tell you your whole being, your very self, is your talent. You may be gifted at singing or you may be gifted at listening to sing. Both are of equal value before God. Those are words that I wish I would have shared with my father when he was singing in church, because my father always says it doesn't matter how well you sing, it's just how loud you sing. Unless you're sitting next to my dad, and then it was, how well you sing, Dad. It really, could have been better. When I consider my life, I share that story about my senior year because it was never really a scar for me then or now. It was just something that happened. The thing that I always consider my talent is that I like who I am. I like who I am. The reason I can share stories about myself is that my identity is not grounded in successes or failures. And this may sound weird, but in my life experience, I enjoy my shortcomings because it helps me celebrate those who are gifted in areas that I am not. We experience that. I feel like we experience that here in this congregation. Last week I just thought Lindsay preached an amazing, wonderful sermon. And I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, you better watch out. She's a better preacher than you." I'm like, how does that hurt me? If she's got a great voice and she gets a great sermon, how does that hurt me? I mean, that just makes everything better around us. Michael Phelps, greatest swimmer of all time, most decorated swimmer of all time, made a movie called The Weight of Gold. And it talked about the mental health challenges of Olympic athletes. And those Olympic athletes, even the ones that don't win medals, are just some of the most dominant athletes, most gifted, talented people in the world, whose entire identity is shaped by winning or losing. And they struggle so much with that sense of worth and value because the world determines their strength, their worth, their value. They're not getting that from God. Being present with all your gifts and all your faults is actually an expression of gratitude, celebrating life and your life in particular. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, your eating, you're going to work and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for God. And ultimately, I would argue, embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for yourself as well. It is the healthiest, most abundant way to live. Amen.